Welcome back, everyone, to another episode here of Average J's Camping. I would like to talk about Hipcamp in this video. This is unscripted. This is off the top of my head. I haven't taken any notes, so we'll see how it goes. We'll start off first and foremost with a disclaimer. I do not work for Hipcamp. I am not being paid by Hipcamp for this video. Hipcamp probably doesn't even know I exist outside of my actual Hipcamp account. But, so these are just my opinions, my thoughts, my knowledge on the subject, being a member of Hipcamp for the past 3 years. Some of the stuff I may share may be inaccurate. I am going to provide everything to the best of my knowledge and how I understand it. So I may be wrong about some things. I may be dead on about some things. I'm just going to give you how I view it. Now, Hipcamp is an app on your phone or computer, very similar to Airbnb or Vrbo, but it's for camping. So you have private landowners that open up their private land for complete strangers to come and use for a fee. I am currently at a Hipcamp. I am here at 44 North, located between Tigerton, Wisconsin and Wittenberg, Wisconsin, in, I would say, north central Wisconsin, for lack of actual direction or better term. If you follow my channel or watch my channel, you'll know that I have been to 44 North now a giant handful of times. It is my favorite place to go. The price is right. What I look for in camping is right. Everything is great. But here's the thing with Hipcamp is it's still mildly unpopular. And a lot of the arguments I hear are similar to those arguments that I hear about Uber or Lyft. Like, they're a stranger. I don't want to get in their car. Do you know every single taxi driver in the world? No, you don't. So the fact that they're a stranger is really irrelevant. There are reviews. You know, if you hop on one and it doesn't have any reviews, put it in your favorites folder and let other people go there first. That would be a big suggestion that I suggest if you're going to use Hipcamp. Avoid the new listings until somebody else goes there. Or you could be one of those first ones and take a gamble. I have done that in the past. If you go way back, I stayed at a place called Orchard in Ixonia, Wisconsin. And it was, I mean, the guy was nice enough. The price was right, right. Everything was great. But it was just a dud in my eyes as far as what I look for camping. It was just basically an apple orchard with a metal big shed. Again, I'll link it down below in the description for that particular place. That being said, was the only real dud I've gone to, and I wouldn't even consider it a dud. I had a great time that weekend. It's just not a place I would ever go back to. Hipcamp, it has everything to offer from rustic, primitive, inexpensive camping, like here at 44 North. Currently, Labor Day weekend 2024, it is $20 a night to stay at 44 North. I am here for a 4-night, 3-day stay. Got here last night, Friday night. I'm going to leave Tuesday morning. It cost me, with Hipcamp fees, a total of $95.20. So it was $80 for the 4 nights and $15.20 in Hipcamp fees. Obviously, the app needs to make money, but I'm going to go further into what that money also goes to. But yeah, check it out. It is, my personal opinion, way better than the campgrounds that are out there. Like, are you really camping? Are you really roughing it when your fire pit is 25 feet away from your neighbor's fire pit? And you gotta watch the music level, you gotta watch the language you're using if there's kids nearby. I do not have those issues here at 44 North when I am camping. Currently, he is closed down for maintenance. He's having some trees removed throughout the property. Me, considering Matt a friend of mine at this point, I've been coming back here so often for 3 years, let me in for Labor Day weekend, so I have the entire 700 acres to myself. I'm currently at the Big Oak site. Now, Sugar Maple, which is another one of my favorites, is probably, for city terms, a block and a half, 2 blocks directly behind me from where I'm sitting. Margaret's Pond, another listing at 44 North, is probably, again, I'm going to say a block and a half, 2 blocks, city terms, in that direction over there. The unlisted site number 7, which does exist, but you can only get into by special request, is probably 3 city blocks, 4 city blocks in that direction. So all the sites here at 44 North are extremely spread out. If he has a full booking for a weekend, you will still have privacy. You will still have, your own spot. You don't have to worry too much. Like, obviously, I use little Bluetooth speakers that don't get entirely too loud because they're inexpensive. So yeah, if you show up with speaker towers and you're just rambunctious and ridiculous, yeah, you'll bother people. But you're not walking on eggshells at a location like this while you're trying to have a good time, because you want to have a good time. You want the other people camping to enjoy their time. So places like Hipcamp, or places on Hipcamp like this, I find to be more ideal than your traditional campground. A good example, Memorial Day weekend, I go up with a group of friends of mine to Franklin Lake Campground near Eagle River in Wisconsin. And yeah, we end up buying like a 4 block of sites just so we can sit in one of the middle ones and not worry about our neighbors. We like to party, we like to drink, we like music, we like to tell each other to F off, ha 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 ha. But we don't have to worry about an 8-year-old being 30 feet away listening to our potty mouths. So we do buy all those sites. Here at 44 North, at this particular site, I don't ever have to worry about that, whether there's all 6 campsites or 7 campsites filled or they're all empty. It doesn't matter. They're so spread out. It's great. Getting back to the fees now, that $80 that I paid for this weekend, Matt, the owner of 44 North, will not see all $80 of that. He is going to also pay fees, like I paid fees on top of the $80. Now, on top of Hipcamp making their profit off those fees, which is completely understandable, they're a company, they have to turn a profit. Those fees also provide insurance for Matt and myself, mostly to protect Matt and his property. So if I drunkenly hop in Miss Blue back here and I drive into one of his cornfields, he is covered. Hipcamp provides an insurance that will reimburse him for the lost crop that I stupidly destroyed. This is a completely hypothetical situation. I would never do this, but just to give an idea, like anything that gets damaged if I accidentally start a brush fire or damage any of his property, Hipcamp provides insurance to cover that. Same thing, I trip over that log over there and I break my ankle. This does not fall on Matt's homeowner's insurance. This would fall on Hipcamp's insurance because I paid the fees. I'm covered as long as, when I tripped and fell was in my block of rented time. Now again, I could be mistaken about this. I have not researched it in great detail. But there is insurance involved to make sure all parties involved are covered, and I won't say safe, but covered. There's no worries. There's no There's no suing, there's no courts involved and all that. Everything is covered. Hipcamp, it has everything, like I said, from this primitive camping to full-on hookups, water, sewer, electric. You know, you can go to, I've seen listings that involve, you know, basically petting farms where your kids can hang out with goats and sheep and, llamas and different things like that. I've been to places like this where you basically get, you know, a fire pit and a porta potty that's, you know, over by Sugar Maple, that's like a block and a half away. So you do get limited amenities, but you also get what you pay for. I have been back here, like I said, a dozen and a half times, maybe more than that. I've lost track. I've been coming to 44 North for the past 3 years through Hipcamp. And I did mention that I do consider myself a friend of Matt's. I consider Matt my friend. However, I still book through Hipcamp for that insurance. He obviously has had people offer, you know, like, hey, can I come back but just give you the cash because they don't want to pay the Hipcamp fees. It's really not that big of a deal. I mean, it's a few bucks. And Matt and I have discussed this in past visits that I've made up here, and this is why I continue to go through Hipcamp. It's just insurance. I mean, purely insurance-wise. Like, sure, he could make a few more bucks, you know, by not paying the Hipcamp fees, and I can just give him the cash directly. But if something was to happen, then that falls onto his homeowner's insurance, which obviously then his rates are going to go up with that and everything. Just big can of worms nobody wants to open. So yeah, I mean, Hipcamp is out there. Hipcamp, I like it. I kind of lost train of thought here. But check it out, thumb through it. You know, it's not a commitment to just go through it in your area. And I try and suggest this on all of the Facebook groups, camping groups that I'm a part of. Like, hey, especially Labor Day weekend. There was a lot of posts of, anyone know where I can sneak in for Labor Day weekend? I didn't book, I didn't plan, everything's booked up. Hipcamp. Last year, I went, you know, Memorial Day and Labor Day on a single day's notice. I wasn't really going to go those weekends, but I went. Now, granted, Memorial Day last year and this year, I did end up at Franklin Lake Campground with my friends. But 44 North here was wide open. Both of those holiday weekends. Labor Day weekend, I was here. Just like Labor Day weekend, now I am here. I'm probably going to make Labor Day weekend at 44 North a tradition of mine. Just because it's so simple, it's so easy. I don't need to book it 6 months out. If the weather happens to look like complete crap that weekend, I can cancel. You do lose the Hipcamp fees if you cancel, but it's a gamble. But again, you don't have to pay the fees. You can wait for the weather report and then book it just 2 days out on a holiday weekend. So I guess I really shouldn't be promoting Hipcamp, because the fact that it's just popular enough to keep its head above water at this point, it makes my camping a whole lot easier. I don't have to stress out. I don't have to worry about what campground has availability or anything like that. And maybe if I make Hipcamp more popular, I won't have that luxury of being able to book last minute to great, amazing properties like here at 44 North. But, you know, these are, like I said, private property owners that put in a fire pit, threw in a porta potty, did whatever, and they're opening up their private, beautiful land for complete strangers to use. And everybody's insured. So if you get a jerk, you're covered. If the host turns out to be a jerk, you're covered. The newest thing is Hipcamp does have an insurance that you can buy while booking, that if there is over 1 hour of rain forecasted for that day, you will get reimbursed for that day. I believe that insurance was $5 and some odd change. So yeah, if there was rain in the forecast today, I could have paid that $5.29 or whatever the heck it is to cover me, and then I wouldn't have paid for today. I would have been covered. I would have gotten that $20 reimbursed to me because it rained for an hour, which I don't buy that insurance. I have the gear it takes to get through rain. Rain does not stop me. The only thing that stops me with camping is 85 plus degrees. Then I will cancel. If it's going to be a heat wave and it's going to be 90 degrees, I'll cancel and stay home. I don't have air conditioning in my tent or anything. I don't like the heat. I don't do the heat. It's okay. We're all different. As long as you're not hurting anyone, as long as you're not damaging nature, whether it be glamping, backpacking, primitive camping, whatever, you're doing it right. So check out Hipcamp if you get a chance. Like I said, it doesn't cost you anything to just thumb through it and look at some pictures, and maybe you'll find your next adventure, or maybe you'll find your ultimate go-to place like I did here at 44 North. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend, and we'll see you next time.